invited to game masters, so people who are ambassadors. Thank you. People who are ambassadors of this beautiful hobby. People who take the games to their communities, to their friends, to their family, and all that stuff. So please give everybody opportunity to talk. During your own talk, when somebody is talking, I beg, don't. We know I'm talking to some people. Susie. So I was coughing. Was coughing. So yes, over to you, Hilda.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So, I mean, I feel that you all should know me, and if you don't know me, well, where have you been? So let's get it. I feel like Casey has done most of the introduction. We know why we are here, but I just want to also buttress on the fact that yes, we are talking about the world, but we are in Africa. So a lot of these questions are going to focus on us in Africa. So and there will be questions for game masters, a question for everybody. But don't worry, I will signify who the questions are for. And I think you would also know by the time I say the questions. So let's get into it. So Casey, I want to start with you.
Fine, it's fine.
What unique challenges do tabletop game designers and publishers face in the African market?
Okay. My friend. This is a question that I live with every day. Something that every day inside, I think about how to navigate, come up with solutions. First, we have a human resource problem. It is very, very important in an industry because no one person can do everything that it takes to get an industry running. Example of this is I run a cafe, and from the outside view, people keep asking, why don't you have people who are here? And it takes a lot because for other jobs, maybe for running a normal bar, a normal cafe, you could just put an ad out and you'll see people apply. But for something like this, you have to groom people, right? You have to put in effort, and it's almost impossible to do unless you first put that effort in building a community,
Yes.
right? So, and then when you're also talking about the value chains in an industry, like I said, someone can be a designer, and that person um, personality enables them be a designer, but that person's personality might not be able to make them be a good marketer or a good manufacturer or a good business person or a good community builder, right? So, and all of this is what it takes to build an industry. So the first major challenge is human resource, and that is what we are doing using the communities and doing free events so that people can come in with their own skills and stuff. Another huge problem is obviously the government. There is no industry that can grow without the government ever, right? In the past, we've tried to invite the government to our events. It is so hard. Unless I don't know, I'm hoping on grace. I'm also hoping that people hear this and we use people's network and all of those. But we've gone the formal way of going, dropping magazines, dropping samples of games, inviting them to events like conventions, also announcing that there are things like this. They will give us the acknowledgement letters from the ministries, but they don't show up, right? So, and there is always that involvement of government that is needed. An instance is this: some people sent games to us for free. We went to NIBCARD to get this game. In fact, it has happened a lot. One was in custom at the airport. We had to clear the game with over 1.8 million, right? And it's a free game. We're not selling it. People donated it. And that game stayed in. There were so many mails between the people that sent it from Denmark, the people that received it in Nigeria, the custom, and we had to clear it. And then there was one that happened at the Night Post office here that we had to go to Wuse, to the Night Post headquarters. They sent memos to Lagos. He came back. Eventually, we still paid, right? So, but if government, because and that's where the awareness comes from, because they think that everything is centered around the old classics of Ludo, chess. So whenever they hear board games, there's also already a market and a cabal that has the words, Scrabble, and so any other thing that is being imported in Nigeria, they have to charge them a lot. So I think these are the two major: the human resources and the government. Obviously, there's also for finance, but if humans come in and government come in, I'm sure that the issue of finance would reduce more than it is now. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, you'd have to connect the microphone again because I want to ask a follow-up question because there was something I was expecting you to mention because it was always in my mind. Would you say limited market size also plays a role in it?
I don't think so. Um, I mean, to an extent, it depends on the comparison. What market are we comparing to? But if it's minimum standard with Nigeria, I think people afford things, especially here in Abuja, right? People can afford leisure in here in Abuja, right? And if we just use that, if we just compare to the fact that someone can go out and buy a meal of 5K, in a day, and I'm sure people pay way more. I think that that market exists, and we already know that in a country like Nigeria, we play games a
A
lot.
lot.
If you go to every street in Nigeria, you will most likely see someone playing a game, either Ludo or what or dice. So people or chess, and there's so much wave
Yeah.
around chess happening right now, Tunde and stuff. So I think the market is there, is access. People want to be able to see this game at the store. People want to see these games at the cafes. People want to see these games everywhere. And that's one of the things why I say human resources are important. If you have a distributor, someone that, oh, I have this capacity, both financially and intellectually, I can run this business of distribution. And I want to put all your games in all of these markets. It makes it easier, right? So we have the market. We have the market in Africa. We have the market in. I mean, think about this. We've never seen the advert of Ludo. Never seen the
Anywhere.
advert of Scrabble. We've never seen any advert about chess. But they've been selling this since before we were born. And I'm like 32. You understand? I'm 32. You should be respecting me, yes. And this game still sells. So yes, the market exists.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that response. This question goes out to the crowd, so please let's listen. Do you think games can be used as a means to preserve and promote indigenous languages and cultural traditions? Would anybody like to, say more on that? Oh, okay, yes.
Um, Hi everyone, I'm Dibia. So, when I started coming to NIBCARD about 3 years ago, it was a mismatch of African indigenous games and white games. So, in the past 2 years, I've been very adamant on if it's not African game, I'm not playing African game. And my question has always been why, because if I walk into, let's say, a games cafe in Denmark or in New York, I don't expect to see them playing any of our games. So we are the biggest market for our game, first of all. So very heavy on Afrocentric games, and I know some of the games we play at NIPSCARD contain elements of our indigenous cultures. Of course, we have to start from Nigeria before we move. So if we want our culture to go, let's say, mainstream or create awareness about it, we have to use every opportunity available to us. And I think NIPSCARD is doing an amazing and fantastic job with regards to that. So yeah, it's a very wonderful avenue. Thank you.
You want to go? Okay, of course.
All right, thank you very much. So I think the question, uh, okay, sorry. Okay, I think you can hear me. I don't know if everyone can hear me now. Okay, thank you very much. So the question, right? I think a couple of months back or weeks back, I was opportune to work with Casey on games, on translating games into indigenous languages, Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa,
And Kanuri.
and Kanuri, exactly, which um very impressive. It was something that I enjoyed working on because that means that games don't have to be produced or manufactured in English only. We could also, produce games in other languages, and we could play these games at home just to teach our kids the language. So I think this is something that should be encouraged. Production of games in local languages should be encouraged. So thank you.
I think for me, it's more from a perspective of what they call it, preserving cultural, will I say, folk tales, things like that. Because sometimes I come here, I play games, and I actually learn about other cultures, sometimes even my own. So I think that's very, very beautiful. Yes, there's the language aspect, of course, because we can use games, and I'm a language learner, so let me just point that out. So, Casey, we can make a game about language learning. I will help you.
Which language? I'm not going to.
We can make one about Yoruba. I'm Yoruba. So we can do that. But then there's also the fact of, like village war. I feel like when you play village war, you actually learn about like some little folk tales here and there. And even though it's not a lot, it sows that seed in you. Then later you're like, oh, this thing I even learned it here. Let me go and learn more about this. And I think that's really beautiful. So
I'm just to add that.
okay, of course.
Village war. I other brother to go to a village and look for someone that plays the oja, that's the flute, and I played paid for a studio section for them to create a soundtrack, 1 hour 30 minute soundtrack. So when you're playing the game, you
That's
put
so
it. Yes,
beautiful.
there are so much calls that we put in to find out, and it's actually the Igbo folklore, like how the Igbo people were created, and we turned it into a game. Like the whole names we used in that game, about 64 names, and not English names that were translated to Igbo. They are
Actual.
original Igbo names. And yes, I'm proud of that as well.
Let's do village wars about Ilorin too. We can do that.
Yes, but
Okay, we move to our next question. I say anyone can answer this, but I think it's particularly more for the game designers actually. Oh yes, okay, of course. How might the metaverse and virtual reality impact tabletop gaming in Africa, particularly?
yes, we also have a thing. Yeah. But after you,
Okay. Well, we know that in developed countries, right, we see virtual reality and say maybe online games as a norm. It's even a way to push your games maybe even faster than the physical copy. So the first time I was to create my game, I had friends in the US asking me, "Oh, is there an online version? Can we help create an online version?" And I was like, "Okay," because first of all, the focal point is actual tabletop games, and we're looking to push it now. We are not ready to do that yet, but it's something that we are looking forward to soonest, and we know that it's going to help in our experience of games. Because imagine I'm looking for a very violent game. Okay, let me not go far. There's a game called The Hunt. It's not, I'll say it's not fully published, but imagine The Hunt as virtual reality. Or or imagine okay, let me leave The Hunt. Yeah, imagine Bosi two-player game that is war inclined, where it's like your clan versus another clan. Imagine it as virtual reality. It's going to be super amazing. It's something you're going to look forward to. But obviously, we're going to get there. We are still growing, knowing fully well that our industry is primarily a tabletop game industry, but there are several aspects of games that we're going to put out. Even virtual reality, even the online games you can download on the Play Store on your mobile app and just play. And we'll get there, and it's going to be something that's going to help push our games when we have gotten, let's say, some form of recognition for the tabletop games, and we start to do that. Then it's going to help push our games further into other parts of Africa and the world at large. So we look forward, and just give us some little time. We'll see it happen.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Would any other game designer like to speak before we move to the next question? Yes, you can.
yes.
Ah, that's nice.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Paul Lena. I'm a game designer and developer, and very excited to be here. I
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I wanted to, and I think I raised my hand on the question regarding language, and it's very key that we find a way to um, make our games like really indigenous. Uh, the game I designed last, actually called 52 Promises, it's basically for couples. And
Purpose.
for no stray bullets today. Yeah, so I had an idea to actually translate it to French and German at first, because I felt like it was a global product. It was something that wasn't just for Nigerians or for Africans, but something came to mind. I think I learned that from The Alchemist. The summary from The Alchemist tells you that all you do while you travel and you try to conquer the world, you will learn experiences, find love, learn languages, and all that. But everything you're looking for is right in front of you. In our own language, or in our own adages, we say, "What you define for Sokoto, do you for your Shokoto." So against translating to French, I decided to um, translate it to Hausa because I am from Kaduna State. I just actually just got in here. I decided to translate it to Hausa, so I found Hausa translators, and then we put up a team together, and then we are in the editing phase of that. And very soon we will have the first edited, the first Hausa card game published. And thank you. Yeah, thank you. And then for the metaverse and being on digital space, I think the line should be drawn, and that is where Africans have to understand the why. Why are you designing this game? So for me, my why is basically to connect humans. When you play board games and you play card games, there is this human touch. You see, this experience, you can't get it when you are online. So we should be able to understand where the line is drawn. Why are you designing it? Is it for humans to learn to be humans more? Is it for humans to connect more? Or is it for to increase digital consumption and all that? So the why is very key. I just feel like we should define our why.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I love that last thing you said. Okay, somebody else wants to speak. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, hi, my name is Uguna. I'm not a game designer, but I had some opinions on the metaverse and tabletop gaming. um, Tabletop gaming is actually a different type of games to sort of virtual reality and things like that. And it's meant to bring people together in a community. Sometimes virtual experiences can push people apart. It's not everything that should be done on social media or online. And that's why gaming, especially tabletop gaming, is so unique. That's why designing it is such a challenge. It's easy to go on a computer and say, okay, you shoot A and A comes out and you see this. But a tabletop game is almost like a collective imagination where everybody has to participate fully. And I feel like virtual reality games takes away from that a little bit. So I'm not against taking some games that are on the tabletop and transferring it to a virtual sense so everybody else can experience it. But I feel like tabletop gaming designing should be focused on the tabletop with people rather than going, online all the time with everything. That's all.
Okay, thank you. We've actually kind of segued into the next question, which is, do you think technology should be leveraged to enhance the tabletop gaming experience in Africa? I'd say it really depends on, based on what everybody has said, it really depends on what your goal is with tabletop gaming. Like if it's that you're just trying to build connections and bring humans together, of course, I'm not saying technology is not something we should look at, but it's not really the priority right now. But a lot of times people are focusing on, will I say, sales, trying to spread awareness. Because connecting humans is nice, but we live in a capitalist system. We need money, so that's why that technology thing comes into play. So I would say finding a balance is always the best thing. Yeah. So would anybody still like to say anything on that? Okay, of course.
Uh, my name is Joshua David, and
What's the next
I
question?
like what everybody was saying, and I think it's just an amalgamation of everything everybody said, which is
One,
that
two, three,
number one thing when it comes to meta,
one,
I don't even
five
think it's
now.
something everybody uses right now. It's not something we should actually be considering because it's not even common, right? Don't get me wrong. Maybe there's that one or two people here that would want to do
This
that.
is the next question.
That's fine. But he said something which is very important. There is something very close about playing tabletop games. Everybody that I bring here, no matter how quiet they are, they really express themselves much more when they are like playing games, and they're really it's that experience that just brings you together, and you feel much more relaxed, no matter what it is. I think that's the core thing. And like she said, technology is important, of course. I think one important thing in technology maybe is trying to find ways that people, even though they are playing, maybe digitalize certain games here, right? So instead of sharing the cards, you're now having the cards on your phone to swipe or whatever, right? Something like that, but you're still interacting with people. I think that's the core of the game. I think that's what should be really part of it. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thank you. And please, I just want to, you know that thing you said about bringing people here and they become less quiet and all that. That means you bring more people here. If you are chiking one babe and you want her, bring her to NIBCARD. Yes. So we are on to our next question. Do you see the gaming community in Africa becoming a platform for social activism and positive change? I would say it already is. Of course, more work can be done. I'd say it already is, but Casey,
No, games are amoral. Anything you want.
Okay, yes, they are
Games
moral,
are
but they,
moral. Anything you want to use it for. Sorry for cutting you
of
short.
course.
So I wouldn't say I'm an activist. I just design games, right? And I also design games for money. So if you are the activist and you're looking for certain games for you, for your what you want to promote, yes, you can always come consult us, and we'll design that game based on what you give to us. And that for me sums it up. Yes, games can be anything. I have a background in working with the non-governmental organization. So in development sector, I volunteered for an organization for 7 years. And I mean every day of my life. It's not like you volunteer for 2 weeks, then you disappear after 6 months if there's an event. Every day I was going to the office. I was working, and I saw firsthand, because that was also the first platforms I had to design games. I saw firsthand where games were changing learning experience for children, right? And I saw firsthand where games became a bridge between a very very ill, sorry I have to say this, but illiterate child and a lecturer, and both of them are sitting, and the game became a bridge, and they could understand themselves. And these things doesn't happen every day. I also saw firsthand where uh, people were using games to push certain societal norms that people would have said, no, I'm not doing, straight up. So to an extent, activism. So yes, but I'm always careful, to give a game an impression. That's why I always say it's amoral, just like money. It's what you can do with it in your hand. But games have that potential. So I hope this answers your question.
Yes, thank you. So that's a very, neutral answer.
Yes.
Yeah, would anybody else like to add to that? You want, okay, Fabian.
I actually just want to share one fun fact. That okay, the ultra game nerds amongst you probably already know, but talking about games and how they can um, foster social change, the Communist Party in the United States wanted to invent a game to show how absurd it is that people that own real estate get richer and richer just for owning property. So they invented a game called Monopoly. Well, what can I say? Kind of backfired.
Yes.
But yeah, just want to share that story.
Okay, thank you. That was a beautiful fact. Okay, so this one is more of a fun question. Anybody can answer this. Game designers is a very fun question. So, if you could design a tabletop game based on a specific African myth, legend, or historical event, what would it be?
Wait. So disclaimer: if you drop it here, and tomorrow I now design it, don't come and hold me. So I just put it out there. It's open source. This is open source. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you'd like to go? Okay.
Hi, my name is Amanda. So, if I could design an African mythological game, because I love mythology, every type of mythology, and I haven't seen African mythology. I haven't seen Nigerian mythology. I don't want to say African because I've not really looked in. I haven't seen Nigerian mythology. How will I say, put on a scale that will entice people to look at it, like the Norse mythology, the Greek mythology, and the rest. So if I would want to see an African game, I want to see the creation of the world, the Igbo mythology, the one with the Amadioha and everything. But I also don't want to only see Amadioha. I want to see Amadioha with I think there's this one in Yoruba one called,
Shango,
yeah,
Oduduwa,
exactly, Shango, Oluwa, Esu. I mean
Eshu.
Eshu. Yes. So it, so I want to see all of them interacting with each other, like the Shango from the Yoruba side, um Amadioha from our side, and I'm very sure I'm just talking about Yoruba and Igbo because that's the ones I'm conversant with. But I'm very sure that there is the one with the Hausa and the other ethnic groups in Nigeria. So if it's possible for us to research on all the ethnic gods in Nigeria and kind of put it in a place like how we see Zeus and Hermes and all of them there, and just kind of put them in their own pantheon, then it would be awesome to play. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Amadio,
Okay.
please drop these ideas. Please
Me
let
too.
me
I have
spread.
an idea actually, but
Okay.
I'll be the last to speak. I actually have an idea.
Okay, so my name is Maureen Peterside. So if I should create an African game, I'll create a game around Ken Sarowiwa and this oil pollution thing in River State because that's my state. So I think a lot of people don't understand what he did or what he was fighting for. So if I would create a game, I'll create a game around it so people can, his name can be in games and people can learn more about this oil spillage and pollution thing in the south, yeah, Niger Delta. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak, or can I say my own idea? And nobody can steal it. If you steal it, because I already have a name for this game in my head.
On the live video.
This is evidence. What's today's date? Sorry.
Don't worry.
Okay, so I really, really like deep strategy games. Like almost every Wednesday I come in, either I'm playing The Hunt or Stone Age or like any deep strategy game. I'm not. I mean, fast-paced games are nice too, but I like when you can sit down and play a game for 1 hour plus. That's really nice. So I thought of this game called bear with me, Mami Water, Guardians of the River. So it's a kind of game where there's like, the Mami Waters can collect like treasure, they can collect shells, they can collect men too, because we know that Mami Waters are known for like, yes, collect men. No, you know what Mami Waters do? Well,
How do you play your game? It collects men.
no. And the Mami Water that collects the most treasure, men, all those things wins. So
Okay.
so this was why I was when I got, I was saying that we should do a game design workshop so I can learn how to make this game.
These men, is it by category? Are there men you capture and they are worth 100 points, and there are men that are 2 points?
And that's why when we sit down and discuss, we will know what to. It's a nice idea. That's how we know what to do. Maybe we will say, certain types of men are worth 1 point, certain types of men are worth 10 points, things like that.
So what is it like? If you have 6-pack, what?
I don't know.
Like if you have 1 million, okay.
But it's a nice idea, so
Someone has a good idea.
Are you doing one?
Is that a question?
Part of it, because the idea I had was something to do with what she was talking about with gods, but it's not Mami Water. It's called Pantheon, and each player is a divine being, and you're fighting for the love, worship, and things of little things on the table. So you have to like fight each other, other gods on the table, and
so they are fighting for relevance.
Exactly. The more worship you get from the tokens or whatever, the more power you have. So it's a strategy game against each other. So who will now be the head god, kind of?
So let me just react to your comment and also answer your question. I want to see your question. Back to Village War. So we made Village War the calamity. In fact, when we were making Village War, we drafted the verse. It's a dual verse. So I couldn't think multi. So we drafted and then we drew a map of the first village where Eri, and then we had to Google when was the first, Igbo man and there. So we had to put our own story to patch up with what we couldn't find. So Eri descended, and there's a whole storyline even on YouTube. We got Joy. Joy is the director of AppCon 2017, 18, and 19, and she is the Elite Festival director, I think, the past 2 years. So Joy did the story, read the story or performed the story because she had her attire. So if you go to YouTube, type Village War the Calamity, you read the whole story, how Eri came and the whole fight. And now coming to what Ugona was talking about, where gods are. So every Village War has 5 games that we drafted. After 1 games, we saw that our industry have not reached there. So we had to dilute it and left the four other stories. But the last story of Village War is Village War the Fate. And in that village war, there are 25 gods, Igbo gods. So when you were mentioning Amadioha, Ekwensu is like Loki, right? God of war. No, Ekwensu is God of war. Yes. And then there is Allah, God of Eligwe. So when I mean, I know Dibia has a lot to say on this topic, right? But the game, that game, I felt it was too dark, and that was a time in my life when I was deciding the game. I had to stop because in that game, um, Chukwu, the big god, had to send Ekwensu to punish the humans. So the humans, so the humans had to sacrifice other humans to deities, to those 25 deities, to be able to get power to fight Ekwensu because they can't fight Chukwu because so Chukwu is like the Zeus sending the Titan. No, no. Oh yeah, sorry. No, no, no. Okay, sorry. No. Sorry. But I just wanted to use like because we already know the Greek mythology well. Yeah. So you have to sacrifice different things to different. So Allah wants something different. So you have to kill other players, humans, and get their soul. And it was dark. But when Uganda was talking about sacrificing things to different deity, no, I'm not going back to that game. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yes, now the training. Yes, we actually hold regular. I did not finish that statement. I did not finish that. There was a time we held regular. In fact, we even had the the British Council in UK funded a playtest. It was like a 3 weeks class. In fact, people like Nampan came out from that. Yes, and Mori attended as well. Yes, and this was 2022. Yes, and they designed their game. Thank God, Basi has designed 4 games now since then. 4 games, yes, that we manufacture and she's selling. So there are people that came out from that. Thank God designed Sound Alike, Bosi, and he's also making games. So there are people that came out. Then Tuesdays, since 2021, we'll be holding playtest Tuesdays. And this is also an avenue where if you have a game idea you want to go through, the Tuesdays, you have to call me. If you knock on this, just call. But yes, we have that. And some AppCons, we didn't do it last year. Some AppCons will also reward playtest. Like last 2 years, we rewarded like prototypes and we helped those people design, cover their design cost and prototype cost. So yes, it's more like informal. If you have a game idea, you're talking with me. It's more like training, and you're not paying for it because I want more games. Plus, when you now design the games, you bring it to me to manufacture. So I charge you. So yes, we have that.
Okay, so we have two more questions now. And this next question is also a, will I say, creative question. Let's put it like that. Tabletop games were a form of art, what message do you think they will be conveying about Africa to the rest of the world? That's a very loaded question. So you have to think about it.
Can you say that again? I think they didn't hear.
I should say it again. Okay. If tabletop games were a form of art, what messages would they be conveying about Africa to the rest of the world?
It will be showing our, for me, to be showing our rich culture, to be showing that Africa is filled with diversity, different cultures, and so many other myths and history that have not yet been told or that we're not told properly, but from an African perspective, because it's games made in Africa. So yeah, so this is what I think.
Okay, thank you. Also, I want to say that people can ask questions. So if you have a question to ask, you can just raise your hand. Do you want to speak? Okay.
Thank you so much, Calvin. Please, can we clap for Calvin?
All right. The way we see things actually do matter. I see game production or designing as a form of art, just like writing a book. and it means you need to be able to shape the mindsets of people via your games. Africa, for the longest of time, have not really gotten this view. I am from Delta State, but born and bred in the north, Kaduna State precisely. And you can go on Google right now and search the word Kaduna, go to image view, and the crisis of 2020, no, sorry, 2000 still appears on the image view. If we do not intentionally get this thing out there through mediums like tourism and what have you, there is no way it will leave the digital space. So it means that intentionality in what we do needs to come from the heart. There are more genocides in Chicago than you ever will have in Kaduna, but it is how they have shaped the media with their stories. So I feel game designing and production is basically a tool for us to tell our stories our own way. You know, whoever pays the piper detects the tune. This is our own story to tell. And how do you tell the story? It doesn't have to be complicated. Tell beautiful stories that the world will enjoy and play. So the world is your playground. Enjoy the game. Thank you.
Thank you. So I know I said this is our last question, and okay, someone wants to speak. Okay. Then you.
So this might be quite very political to me. I know quite and very, yeah, to me. But I am always very concerned. Sorry.
Sorry.
Ooh. I am always very concerned when we lump the African experience as African. What exactly is African? Africa is not a culture. Africa is not, like, to quote Trevor Noah,
Africa is not a monolith.
it's not, yeah, it's not a hut where we're all breathing upon ourselves. No, we don't. We don't do that. So the question perhaps for me should be, how can we tell our Nigerian diverse story to be part of the wider African story? Because if you say you want to tell the African story, which African story are you talking about? Kenyan, South African, Zimbabwean, Angolan, Moroccan. It's very diverse. And in Nigeria alone, we have over 450 indigenous ethnic groups. So which are you talking about? But there is not even a homogeneous Nigerian culture. We don't even know what that is. We can't even define it. We're still struggling with that. We are still very much
Actually, 'cause we're
bogged
all
down with the whole idea of tribalism. Let's give an example. Let's say from Anambra, you have to battle it. Oh, my senatorial district, my local government, my hometown, my hamlet, then my clan. So, what exactly is the African question? That's what we need to tackle. Is it an African question, or tell the diverse Nigerian story that will tie to the broader African story? Because Africa is not a monolith. And to say again, we are not all under one hut, breathing upon ourselves.
That was an amazing answer. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a question actually about the impact of AI on tabletop gaming. Really, is there any, in general, when we talked about technology earlier and its impact on tabletop gaming, the general perception seems to be largely positive, although people do have like a bit of concerns regarding the impact it could have on, the relationships built between people. But I am curious about tabletop gaming and its design, especially, and the impact of AI on that process. Are there any fears that people have currently? Are there any general concerns that exist within the industry, and how AI will influence it? This is my question.
Okay, let her speak to them. We'll just answer the both of them.
Okay, hi again. So my question is relating to the indigenous thing that we're talking about, and the game that we design, especially the one that you mentioned. So when you mentioned that, it gave me an idea, and I started thinking that, we're discussing something, and then we're like, there's some people that will frown upon that game. There's some people that will reject that game, maybe because of their beliefs, maybe religion or spirituality or something. So my question is, how do you make a game that you're not trying to show the dark side, like what you were saying about village war and everything, there was a dark side and everything, and you outwardly said you don't want to go. If you want to go back to that game, and if you feel like there's a good story to tell or there's something to learn from that game, how do you bring that game to people that you believe or you feel will reject that game because of maybe their fears or their religion, or just their beliefs? Yeah, thank you.
Then after Divya, then okay, you want to answer as well. Okay. Okay, so people so happy that want to answer.
I think personally, when it comes to her question, um, firstly, whatever someone wants to think about, they're going to think about your game, whether like it or not. The truth is, especially when we talk about, names talk about video games, right? To people, GTA V or GTA V IV, they're just going to say, oh, it's a violent game or whatever. And I think when it comes to people, a lot of times when you want to introduce them to something new, you always start light, just to understand that, okay, this is what this is about. Because if you start too strong, they might just think, oh, this is what video board games, and they'll have a different mentality. But they know human beings. Human beings are finicky, right? So, and you want to stand enlightened to understand this is not all. This is not violent game. We're not here to kill people. That's what board games are about. You understand that? Because usually when I talk to people about board games, they either they think about it something light, or they think of it as something like gambling. So negative or very, very ridiculous. So I think when it comes to that, one of the best ways really is to introduce them to something light, something that we can converse with, something that can understand that this is what board game is about. And there are people that are going to say that, hey, I have something else here. If you don't like it, that is fine. And people are going to have their reactions to this thing, and that is fine. You can't control that, right? And but I think it's important to put that information out that it is here, whether like it or not, it's going to be here, and that's fine. That's what I would say.
Thank you. So the question for AI and then
Sorry, you asked about AI and its impact on tabletop games. I don't know what will happen. I know what should happen, and it should have zero impact, please. My brother here was talking about the creativity in designing games. Let's keep that creativity. When a game designer sees an idea in his head, draws it out, designs it out, comes up with the rules, it's human ingenuity. Take it from me, I'm a technologist, but AI should stay in its own lane for certain things and not dilute the purity of tabletop games. Imagine if an AI had designed Dungeons and Dragons or The Hunt or The Outsider. It was born out of Casey's creativity. So we should celebrate human creativity, especially game designers like Timmy and everybody else that are putting a lot of hard work into it. So if there's an impact of AI, maybe in marketing, but in the actual game designing of it, I think it should be zero, personally.
just so you know, the case is mentioned is me. Just yes.
Okay, I want to make a comment on your question regarding how does, in essence, how does belief affect games? They are games, and when Casey mentioned if it felt dark, yada yada, no offense to you, Casey, and I was concerned because not to boast, but I'm bragging small, sha. Um, I know quite a lot about Greek mythology, as much as Norse mythology, a lot of European mythology, and it's quite dark, very dark. So when we even talk about a lot of Disney shows, Disney has whitewashed a lot of, say, dear Lord, Cinderella is a dark story. You understand? So Sleeping Beauty is talking about rape and no consent. So necrophilia, we can go into the dark part of these issues. So the truth is, we may not be bogged down by trying to clean them up, but we cannot all throw them into the bin because it does not fit on maybe a Christian or a Muslim sense of it because it will offend. First time I heard that Ekwensu was actually a trickster god, I was very, very impressed about Ekwensu. But to be frank with you, because I've spent over 20 years, I cannot just do that. You understand? So the truth is, we have good stories to tell. A lot of people are sleeping on Egyptian mythology. Amazing. There are a lot. I mean, there are a lot of Yoruba mythology.
Thank you.
Shamefully,
Shango.
I know more Yoruba mythology than I know of Igbo mythology. Interestingly, so we have stories we have to tell, and if tabletop games are the avenues, we have to do it. People demonize Harry Potter. People demonize Dungeons and Dragons. I be sorry, I've not played that game. So a lot of them. So it's all about storytelling. How you tell the story matters, and we must be able to challenge narratives. We cannot be stuck with, oh, see, to quote Mark Manson, the author of the total art of not giving a fuck. People will always take offense. Just don't be the person who takes offense at everything. So, are we going to keep on taking offense, or are we going to change the narrative? It's a question that NIBCARD needs to answer for itself. So, that village war needs to go back and tell a story. Thank you.
No, no, not to this, not to this. I want to react to the African perspective that Divya brought in, and then also answer your two questions. Just contribute to what they've already said to your two questions. So the first is yes, I don't, and this is one thing that I know to an extent I've done proudly in the global gaming community. They A lot more people now refer to Nigeria than to say Africa. So they say, oh, and I met someone in Ghana. Do you know the person? Or I met someone in Tanzania. I've heard of this person in Tanzania that designed games. Do you know the person? And these are conversations that 2016 it wasn't happening. In fact, oh, I Googled myself. I'm sorry. So 2016, I Googled my name and I saw a conversation at Reddit. About 200 people are saying he's a Nigerian prince. Another 200 people are saying he's not. And it was yes, it was because they say oh, an African person that is designing game. And that time, to be honest, they were not really you are not that person apart from South Africa. Let me not out of humility give false facts, right? But now that conversation has started happening. But no, it's Nigerian, and that also reflects in the name NIBCARD. And how you would know is this. So there is NIBCARD and there is APCON, African Board Games Convention. So these are two names that came up in 2016, right? APCON is African Board Games Convention. And the idea from that wasn't to just use the name Africa. The idea was, it still is, that there could be a franchise that tomorrow there will be an APCON in Nairobi or an APCON in, let me quote Afolabi, what is Ogagugudu?
Wagadugu.
Bombali, exactly. And there will be an APCON in Abuja. So that's the idea behind APCON. But NIBCARD, no. In fact, NIBCARD stands for Nigeria, and I probably would have said this in the beginning. When we talk about tabletop games, there are about 5 major categories, but there are subcategories. Board games, card games, dice games, role play games, like Dungeon and Dragon that Divya was talking about is a role play. And a role play that we all played growing up is Father and Mother, Police and Thief. Nobody gave us the rule. Sit down, this is it, but we all knew the rule somehow. And you know your own rule. If your father, you know your mother, sorry, we were being, but it's the truth. Whether they are wrong or right, that's the word that we created for ourselves. And then there is also the miniature games. And at some point, Ugona will want to talk about Warhammer, and all of those. So that's miniature. A good example of a miniature game is chess. Yes, because each miniature is where the rule of the game is. Anyway, so NIBCARD stands for Nigeria Board Card Roleplay and Dice. And you will see it on the logo that the I is not really an I, it's a symbol, and the A is not an A, also a symbol. So it's Nigeria Board Card Roleplay and Dice because I just want to focus on Nigeria stories. Nigeria is so, even in Igbo, if you call me Kelechi, my name is not Kelechi. Kelechi is for Imo people. My name is Kenechuku, which is for Anambra people. So you just see only in Igbo, there's also all of those differences happening. And then just to also comment on the AI. Sadly, the AI has a huge influence on the global on tabletop games. In fact, it traded so much that a huge company was cancelled, right? And I'm talking. not yet in the creativity side, but in the illustration side, right? Because it has started taking people's job. One from yes, from rule book editing, and then for illustrations. So one big company did an illustration and went to Kickstarter. I think they had to raise a lot of money, probably close to $1 million, and people found out that they used AI for this art, and they cancelled. Like everyone was bombarding, and some still did it, but in the industry, we know it's going to happen at some time, but there's sort of a drag, and people are now being encouraged to start using AI to complement their work at least. And there's also that conversation happening globally where if there's a tilt of AI in your work, or you find AI using your work, there's some sort of royalty that we pay to you. So that conversation is happening, but it is happening. That some people don't like it, but technology can't fight it. And then your question on sorry, the belief. Yes. Now this is important, right? There are states of mind, especially for creatives. There is a state of mind you are. If you're a writer, there is a sort of poem you will write based on where you are at that time. And then there's also it happens. If you're very happy, you write a happy poem. If you're very sad, you write. There are some people that are gifted that they can control it, right? There are times in my life, there are games I just design. And this boils down to that human resources. We need game designers. If one person is singing R&B, jazz, electronic, Iba, Ogene, Fuji, one person, it does not make sense because I tell people that I've not really poured what I want to design in games. I'm just meeting the demands of the market. So if I notice that people here like 10-player games, I'm pumping out 10-player games, right? Because I want people to come into the industry first. But what I really want to do is 4-player games, 5-player max, games you play for 3 hours. But I know that people here don't want to play for games for 3 hours. So I designed 20 minutes game. Do you get? So, but if we have more designers, and game designing is a teachable skills, is a learnable skills. Someone can teach it to you. You can go and read and learn it. No skills can work without practice. You design your first game, just understand the skeleton. That's the mechanics of games. Dice rolling, card drafting, area control, area mapping. Once you know this and know how it works, you can now mix them together, and it's so beautiful. Like Ludo is already area movement and dice rolling, right? If you want to remove the dice rolling, you can use card drafting. How do you do it? You remove dice, but on a card now you're writing the numbers and you shuffle it. During your turn, you draw a card, and whatever number you see on that card. Now, to even add extra to it, on that same card, you can even write if somebody is in your lane, remove that person. So if you've already changed Ludo, it's so easy. I'll use that one. Nobody should use that one. So game design is once you understand the mechanics of game design, when you now mix them together, like snake and ladder, you can change it. And the industry is massive. And there's also the technology aspect I don't want to bring to this table. But once you have the tabletop game, there is a potential. And if you copyright it or you bring up something and patent a certain stuff, it stays. It's something you can, if it's good, it is good. So I think I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if this is the last question, so let me
This is the
market
last
games.
question.
We sell games. Come and buy games. Buy games, and you have 10% discount. And then there's also quiz nights this Thursday. Coming Thursday. Next Thursday is quiz night, and then we sell games. Buy games, not we sell games. Buy games. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is how you clap. Thank you.
Okay, so we are at our last question. Everybody actually has to answer this question. Right? My cameraman is yeah, so everybody has to answer this question. So, how do tabletop games make you feel? We're going to start like that. Everybody has to answer. And then me and Casey will be last because now we know.
They call you.
How do tabletop games make you feel? One word, just one word. One word. Happy.
play with my friends a lot, so happy again.
That's more than one word. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Bless you.
Excited. Should I use only one word?
Skip you.
Okay, good.
Rebellious. Oh, wow.
Battle ready.
Wow.
I will guess.
Competitive.
Connected.
How's it?
When is the game ending? Only when we use all the cards. Not yet.
Finally, dildo boost.
At rest.
So I guess that brings us to the end of this was lovely. Thank you for watching. Sorry, excuse me, everyone.
Sorry guys, sorry. Just 2 more minutes.
So I think this brings us to the end of this open discussion. Thank you all for coming to NIBCARD. The first, we are making history here. Do you realize that? Yes. This is not supposed to be like, oh, I was there at the first NIBCARD. You were there at the first NIBCARD Games Expo. Thank you.
Thank you so much guys for coming. Okay, yeah, please let's go back to our gaming tables. Or we'll bring games. So sorry guys.
Excellent. Splendid. Yeah, that brings it up.